all began with Bill Lyons making sidecars. Then there was this, and then they won Le Mans. I simply had to put my gearbox in sport mode and shut down the air conditioning. It's the £50,000 XJR, and it's the fastest four-door saloon I've ever driven. In bald figures, it develops 370 brake horsepower, roughly the same as a Ferrari 355. It rockets from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds and is only brought to heel by electronic limiters that cut in at 155.
Yo, my name is George Jefferson, the man Maleficent. You don't know who you're messing with, I ran for president. Cause our country's in our deficit, my only testament is that.
Alright, so I haven't started the Jag in about a month. It's been almost a month, it's been like 3 weeks. So, let's see if it's gonna start. I think it will. I'm pretty hopeful. The battery in this thing is a beast. Yeah. Cold start. She said, "Roddy, why you acting funny? Ever since you got some money, been fronting on me, saying, oh." Thing on. So the sun finally came out here in Washington and I can finally make a new video. I've been meaning to put this video together for a little bit, and that is a general buyer's guide for this car, for the 308 chassis. So I'm mainly going to be focusing on like the big stuff, and I'm going to drop a link down in the description for a forum post where you can see a really extensive detailed version of what I'm saying. It's going to have a lot more information in a lot more detail. So that's where a lot of my information is coming from. Also, in the previous videos that I've done with the Jag, a few people have mentioned like these common issues and asked me if I've done them to my car. Just want to say that this car is a gem. I had all these issues already addressed. But anyways, let's get into it now. A few of you have asked me about these cars via DMs and in the comment section. For the most part, to be honest with you, these cars are really reliable. They're really great as long as you pick it up from somebody who did just at least the base minimum of maintenance to it. These things are built pretty tough. Hopes that more younger enthusiasts will start picking these things up because, in my opinion, they're a really serious bang for the buck and they're really slept on because mainly just older collectors buy these things and not too many younger people drive these, and they're really missing out. 400 horse and a lot of luxury and a lot of creature comforts for that price. I would kind of put her in the category of a step below the E55 AMG, which is currently kind of in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. I really compare this car to that because they're really similar. Both cars are really heavy and pack a lot of power in them, and both are pretty reliable and have quite a bit of potential. So I think they're a good comparison. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the high sulfur fuel issue. So this mainly affects any cars from 97 to 2000. As I said, after 2000, they for the most part fix these issues. So Nicosil is a coating that some manufacturers use to line the inside of their engine. This is most common in BMWs and Jags, kind of in that era. And this is a great coating. There's a reason why these manufacturers use it, but it has a weakness, and that weakness is that it can be worn down or prematurely worn down by high sulfur fuel. So gasoline contains sulfur, and some gasoline contains more sulfur than others, and more of that will damage that coating. Jaguar later switched to a steel lining, which fixed this issue. And as I said, I will drop that forum post down below, and this has a lot more details, such as like what specific code you want to look in the VIN for to check if your car would be affected by this and things like that. Just way more detailed than what I'm talking about. I don't want to make this a really long video. And the Jag dealer can actually inspect the car and check for that Nicosil wearing. I'm not sure if every dealer would do this, but I do know that that is an option. Alright, so the conclusion for this issue is if you don't want to deal with it at all, just buy a car after 2000. If you just find a really clean car that happens to be from 97 to 2000, just make sure that you remember that when you take a look at the car. And if it's a more higher priced one that's really made with really low miles, I highly recommend getting that inspected by them just so you have that peace of mind. So the second thing we're going to tackle is the timing chain tensioner issue. The tensioner's job is to keep the timing chain tight. If a tensioner fails, the chain can jump one or more teeth, which you definitely don't want. So as the first issue, this is something that's mainly been fixed after 99. So this is actually something that's already been fixed on this car. It was replaced with a metal tensioner. So the issue with these tensioners is that from the factory they came plastic which is just not a good idea. I'm not too sure why they decided to do that, probably because it was cost effective. But anyways, this part will wear down sooner than it should, and that will cause that issue of potential timing jump, which is just bad news all around. Okay, so let's move on to the fourth issue, and that's the thermostat and water pump issue. So I'm sure many of you know that any issues with the thermostat or cooling system in general is just something you want to avoid in any situation. You want to tackle those issues right away because those are things that can really cause a lot of damage. So in this case, we have a sticking thermostat that could potentially damage the water pump and basically make the whole cooling system fail and have a pretty expensive and extensive repair list that you'd have to follow after that. So to my knowledge, this is an issue that's been less common around these cars, so it doesn't seem to happen as much as the other stuff that I've been talking about, but it's still something you want to take a look at. And I guess any car you ever buy, you really want to inspect the cooling system and make sure that it's functioning correctly. So I guess this would apply to any car that you ever decide to pick up. So just to summarize this, just make sure that you ask the owner of the car if it's been replaced. So if there's no receipts or paperwork, but the owner says it's been replaced, just make sure you drive the car real hard for at least 15 minutes, let it go from cold to hot and then back, you know, through the full cycle again, just to make sure that the cooling system of the car is functioning as it should and the car is not overheating. Alright, so that's all I wanted to mention in terms of that. I want to just use the rest of this video to kind of talk about this car because I'm personally really obsessed with this thing. I think they're super cool. I'm really glad I discovered these things and picked one up because I'm really happy with it, and I just want to talk about it a little bit, mention the mods of this thing some more. Alright, so let's get into the mod list on my car. I'm going to go through it really quick. Just go from one thing to the next. So let's start with probably the biggest thing, which is the wheels. They're 20 by 10. The wheels are by Niche. I think the model is SN M146. It's a nice looking wheel. The car came with them, so I can't really say much about them. I didn't choose them. It's just what the car already came with, so I'm glad that they did come with them. Probably wouldn't be my first choice, but they do look good. So the car also has an auto coacher lip, and this makes the car look very, very different from other 308s. It kind of extends the car a little bit more in terms of height. So the front lip is actually missing. I have just a garage door lip in the front, but the side and the rear still has that kit. And if you look at my car and then you Google another one of these, you'll see what I mean. It really does add that look to it, which I think is really important for this car because, in my opinion, its biggest visual drawback is that it just looks really short. So probably the most impressive mod is the custom BC coilovers. So on the front, the car has fully custom BC coilovers. They're height adjustable and damper adjustable, which is really nice. And in the rear, there's a shock and spring setup, and the springs were cut just a little bit in the back. Also, there's a 2.5 catback exhaust with a 2.5 TrueFlow MagnaFlow muffler, 3.5-inch Mina Gallery cold air intake. The car's got an LED retrofit just about everywhere you can imagine. The front signals, the rear signals, all the lights and the bulbs, the interior, everything has been retrofitted with LEDs, which is a small thing, but I think it makes a big difference in the car's lighting, and it kind of makes it look a lot more modern, a lot more newer, so I just wanted to mention that. So these wheels are pretty fat, and you guys are probably wondering how they're fitting in there. So the front fenders and the rear quarters are pulled and shaved just a little bit to get these to fit in there. The car does currently rub a little bit, but it would rub just a really crazy amount if that wasn't done. Not only was it done, but it was done professionally and very neatly. So if the previous owner is watching this video, just want to give you props on that. Good job. A lot of attention has been paid to this car in terms of the way everything's been done. Really careful work has been done, really impressive professional stuff, and I really respect that a lot. So another pretty big thing to notice interior wise is the car has a full VDP interior swap. So this is the executive package of this chassis. So like a much more cushiony interior. The rear seats have foldable picnic tables. The seats are more like shaped like a couch instead of the XJR, which is a little bit more sporty. I'd probably prefer the XJR interior, but I really can't complain with this one because this is actually a pretty huge mod and it was done so neatly. Like the interior looks brand new in this car, and it's a 97 Jag, you know, not that new of a car. Alright, so that about wraps it up. I'm sure I forgot a ton of things I wanted to say. I'd love to see more younger people driving these. I'd love to see more people modding these. Really only see these things modded in places like Japan. You don't even see them often here. And it's not that there's not many of them, there's plenty of them. It's just that, as I said, there's so many older people that own them that they probably just sit in the garage somewhere and are never driven, and that's just sad. So I hope, you know, more people get these, taking advantage of all the things that they've got to offer. But anyways, it's starting to get cold here. The sun's about to start setting, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out.
How you feel, it's a style. So it can go out.